Transcendent. I'm Raya, and I'm the daughter.
And I'm Joe, and I'm the dad.
Dad, I invented a new word. I'm kind of proud of it.
Really? You invented a new word?
I did. I coined this word all by myself. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Plagiarism.
One of the questions that comes up often when we attend events like Pride Fest is someone will ask us, knowing that we have a podcast, should coming out be encouraged or discouraged? What's your take on that?
We're going to actually look at both sides here. We want to explore because every situation is different. I have my own beliefs and you have your own beliefs, and we haven't really talked about this much beforehand. But we did put together a list, and we're going to be going through the list on both sides of this. What are the arguments for encouraging someone to come out? And what are the arguments for encouraging someone to take their time and just to choose privacy instead? You may ask, what do we mean when we talk about coming out? We sometimes talk about coming out of the closet, and I talk about my coming out story. For me, my coming out story was when I let people know that I was trans, and then I really came out on the day that I transitioned, because then all of a sudden everybody knew.
When you came out, that would have been when I could either agree and begin to accept and absorb the concept, or I could say, are you sure you're ready to do that? Could you wait a little bit? Maybe you should give that some more thought. So those are kind of the perspectives I could look at. I could look at, wow, I guess that's it. You're open and fine. Or maybe you ought to just wait.
And then, of course, for the person that is thinking about, should I come out, they're wrestling with, what is the response going to be? Is the response going to be, like you did, of I either accept it or I lose her? Or is the response going to be, get out of my house? Or somewhere in between? And we're going to talk about how do we weigh those various consequences and how do we navigate that? Now, we're talking, when we talk about coming out, for me, that was coming out in terms of gender identity.
Yeah.
Hey, mom, dad, there's something that you need to know about me. And then when I came out to the kids, I remember sitting around in a circle. We did it outside. We got a circle of chairs and we said, okay, everybody come together. Mom and dad have something that they need to talk to you about, and this is a pretty big deal. And I remember they didn't really fully understand how big of a deal it was. When we finished the conversation, they kind of said, okay, well, can we go play now?
Yes, they did.
And so,
but the oldest two really absorbed it a lot quicker, and I think they understood more what that meant.
I think so, but also they didn't fully understand until they actually saw me transition, which I only came out to them right before I was going to transition. So it was maybe a week or something that happened.
Now we're talking about people in that entire spectrum, LGBTQ plus.
Yes. And so this is not just gender identity. We're also talking about sexuality. We could be talking about romantic orientation. A lot of people don't realize your sexuality. You might be attracted to a certain kind of person in terms of your physical attraction, but you may want to have a romantic connection with somebody that's different. And those don't necessarily line up. Sometimes somebody is bisexual, but they're maybe only romantically attracted to somebody of one gender or the other, or vice versa. Maybe romantically attracted both ways, but not sexually attracted both ways. Those don't always line up, although usually they do.
But in your particular case, when you came out, it wasn't only something that was emotional or something that was a vision in your head. It was also visual. That made it a little different from
It
some of
is.
the other ways of coming out.
It is very different when we're talking about transgender folks coming out. Really, when we're talking about transgender people coming out, we're probably talking about that first conversation like I had with you. There are some transgender people that will only transition partially. So maybe they're continuing to present male at work, but female when they're outside of work, or vice versa.
Yes.
So you get lots of those. I remember the vice versa, watching the L Word, where they're following various lesbian characters through LA. Back, this was probably 20 years ago. One of the characters was a drag king. So it was a woman that would go and then dress up for drag shows in drag as a man. And then we discovered as time went on that really he felt much more comfortable as a man, and he eventually went towards transitioning. But when someone is first coming out, it means that we're not quite sure which pronouns to use yet. Maybe they know which pronouns they would prefer, but they're not really sure whether they're going to tell you. And that's the question that a transgender person is asking themselves is, should I have privacy right now, or should I be encouraged to come out right now and let people know what I have going on inside?
And some people, once they transition, come out and people don't know. They see you and they think, oh, there's a woman. Or if you've transitioned to be a man, there's a man. They don't think of it that way.
Right.
Other people do not make the visual transition easily. It's fairly obvious that this person is transgender.
I think so, although I think you would be surprised that, especially depending on where you live, there are certain places where it doesn't take all that much to be relatively passing. And many transgender people can find ways to pass very quickly on. No, but not everybody.
Right.
Not everybody. But, most people look for very simple cues. Especially if you're in a rural area like we are right now. They look at the length of your hair and they judge what you are based on that. Now, I know for me, I had long hair in high school and I was not trying to transition. Now, I did have it because it helped me feel a little better, but I didn't let that on to anyone. In fact, not even to myself. And I would occasionally be called a woman. And I would think, who are you that you think that just because I have long hair, I'm a woman? But surprisingly, a lot of folks do just that. And so a lot of transgender people will find ways to pass just fine, even if you think, well, they're not really all that passing. It doesn't take that much in a lot of contexts.
Or females with shorter hair.
Right. And then we also want to talk about the specific context. Are we talking about teenagers? Are we talking about adults? Are we talking about like when I came out to you, coming out to the family? Or are we talking about like when I came out at work and we told everybody? Are we talking about when I came out to the kids versus coming out to mom and dad? Are we talking about coming out to friends? And again, the difference if somebody is gay or lesbian or bisexual coming out. What if somebody is married and they come out as bisexual? What does that mean in that context? The answer is yes, we're really looking at all of those situations, and every one of those will be a little different, but we're going to kind of keep all of those in mind as we think through what are the factors that are involved.
The first point of view is the case for choosing privacy. So from that perspective, where do we go?
Well, there's a lot of compelling concerns, and of course, the biggest one is always the question of safety. If someone feels like they are not going to be safe coming out, then the negative side would say, no, you should not come out.
Right.
This argument would say, you are going to be much worse off if you come out to people that are not respectful, that are not honoring of your pronouns if you're transgender, are not honoring of your attractions if you're gay or lesbian or bisexual, and you will be much worse off than if you had done nothing to begin with.
And because we are in 63 countries plus the U.S., there are some countries where we know people are listening to this podcast where it would be quite dangerous to come out. And if you're coming out as transgender, that could be even more dangerous. That clearly safety is a major issue.
And of course, there's always the question of, why do you have to come out? It sure doesn't seem like you have to come out, especially if we're talking about a romantic or a sexual orientation. You do not owe anybody your sexuality. Nobody else needs to know, and this is, in fact, a private concern. You do not need to feel obligated. You don't need to feel pressure to be anything. You get to be who you are, and there is nothing and nobody that can make you come out.
That's true. Some people use their own idea of who is gay and who isn't, or who is lesbian and who isn't, based on their interpretation of things. For example, here's a person that is 45 years old and has never been married. And there are those out there who falsely assume, well, they must be gay. On the other hand, there are people who are married who are gay, and they're married to each other, or they're married to someone else, and they're still gay.
Right.
And so these people make false assumptions, and those assumptions are unfortunate. So whether or not you come out, and is it a situation that is a concern about safety? Not necessarily. Right?
Right. Yeah, there can be lots of reasons for sure. And one of the issues that will be brought up sometimes from folks in the LGBTQ plus community will say, look, we should not even have to come out. Coming out assumes that heteronormativity is the main piece here. So
that's a big word.
Yes, it is. It just means that heterosexuality, somebody that's attracted to the opposite gender or opposite sex, that should be the default. And some folks in the LGBTQ plus community will say, wait a minute, why does that have to be the default? Why should I have to come out just because I'm gay, or just because I'm lesbian, or just because I'm bisexual? Shouldn't you just assume that everybody has their own orientation? I shouldn't have to come out. Or if I have to come out, then straight folks should have to come out too. We should all have to come out. It should be equal. And if I have to come out as a gay person, then that is giving permission to heteronormativity, that you get to set the rules. And I don't think that's right. And I've heard people make exactly that case.
Another thing is, not everyone feels safe or ready to come out. I mean, readiness is deeply individual. So for some people, mental health, financial security, or cultural considerations make privacy the best option.
Right. And so we might ask here on the question, should coming out be encouraged? Well, I think we all understand that somebody can come out when they need to come out. The question is, should we then, for that person that's not ready to come out, am I being a better ally if I come beside them and I say, you know, you'd be a lot happier if you come out? Well, this person would say, no, don't encourage them. The best way that you can be an ally is you come alongside them and you say, whenever you are ready, I will stand with you. And if you're never ready, I will stand with you. And you make the choice completely. That is honoring towards the person. It's helping them. It's making it clear that there is no obligation that you're putting on them. You're not pressuring them. You're letting them come on their own timetable.
Yes. For example, we had a guest on here about a year ago, Father Greg, who 23 years remained in the closet and continued as a Catholic priest for 23 years before he finally said, I can't do this anymore, and he came out. But for those 23 years, he kept his feelings inside all that time because he didn't feel he was ready. And that's okay.
And especially this position would be saying, our job as LGBTQ folks and as advocates and allies is never to try to influence that person. Let that person come to their own conclusion. Let them find their own way.
Another point is coming out isn't a one-time event. That was with you. You mentioned that a number of times,
Right.
that it wasn't a one-time event.
For me, I came out to multiple people. So I came out to my ex-wife first. And then after that, I came out to you and Mom. And then after that, I came out to the kids and to a few friends. And then I came out to coworkers. And then I came out to everybody on Facebook. That was kind of my progression. But for me, then once I was out, I was out. But now imagine if you are gay or lesbian. Let's say that you are in a relationship. Well, when are you coming out? Are you coming out when you're at work? I right now work a phone job. Now, am I going to tell every single one of those people that I am attracted to women? Am I going to tell them about my relationship status? For the most part, I don't. Unless it's somebody that confides in me because I don't know who they are and I'm a salesperson.
Right.
And I don't want to lose somebody because I have divulged too much information about myself. I know certain people that are clients of mine that I would never divulge to them. And I know other people that I have felt more open to divulging. And especially for me now as a transgender person, I have two things that I can choose to come out on. I can choose to come out as my orientation about who I am attracted to and my relationships. I can also choose whether or not to come out that I'm transgender, and I will rarely do that. I will only tell somebody at work that I am transgender if it comes up that they are transgender. And then I'll say, you know what? So am I. I've had that happen in 9 years, maybe 3 times. It's very rare. And in fact, I would be much more likely to say that I have a transgender family member than I would to be saying that I myself am transgender, because I transitioned in order to not have to come out. So we might say, should I be encouraged to come out? And I would want to say, no, please don't encourage me to come out. I don't want to have to divulge to people that I'm transgender.
Mm-hmm.
But then what about somebody that is in a lesbian relationship? Should they feel obligated to put a picture of them and their spouse on their desk? Should they feel obligated when it comes up and people are talking about spouses that they now have to mention my wife? I know a gay man. I think he's probably bisexual, but he's in a gay relationship. He told me about how good he got at hiding his relationship and how he would say, oh, my partner is at home and they can't come out right now and they do this and they do that. And he would always use they pronouns, not because his partner used they them pronouns, but because he did not want to divulge that his partner was a man. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the question. So should my friend be encouraged to come out? That's the question. We've explored the side saying, no, we as allies should not be encouraging people to come out. Let them come out on their own time. We're going to give you the other side to that case right after this.
I'm Monica Scarbin. I love listening to the Transcendent podcasts, probably because I've been a guest speaker. I've been listening to these podcasts for over 2 years now, and have found them to be not only inspirational, but very informative and emotionally lifting to my spirits, especially when I'm not feeling very hot. I'm a supporter, and I'm glad to be a supporter. Please go to transcendent.com, click on support. By as little as $3 a month, you can cancel at any time.
Well, let's take a look at the case for encouraging coming out. There's a lot of reasons that coming out has benefits. First of all, when you are out there and you are visible, you are another part of the entire universe of LGBTQ people. And when your friends and your coworkers and your relatives know someone who is LGBTQ, it's much more likely that they're going to become supporters. They're going to become allies because they already know somebody that they have a positive connection with. It's wonderful. It also makes it considerably easier for you to become accepted very easily. And because we already have a society that has all of this cultural progress already and all of this visibility already, it's much easier than it would have been, say, in 1940, which would have been much more difficult.
Right.
Today, it is much, much more common. The generation of 2020s and earlier, all of those people look at that a different way than the generation of the people who are in their 80s and 90s. It's completely different from those people. They do not necessarily understand that this is not the 21st century for them.
Right. And this argument is saying, yes, we ought to encourage people to come out because there's nothing to fear anymore. Yes, we understand that there can be certain circumstances, and nobody is saying push somebody when it's not right for them. But we do want to come alongside them and encourage them that you're scared to go through that door, but only because you don't know what's on the other side. And what you're so scared of happening is not going to happen anymore. This is not the 1940s anymore.
Correct.
It's 2025. And there are lots of people here to support you. There are a lot of people that can come alongside of you. And you know what? As long as you are afraid, I will stand with you. But I want to encourage you that you don't need to be afraid anymore. And then I know many people that will add to that and say, not only that, but you have no idea the freedom and the liberation that you experience when you get to live your most authentic life. And one of the most miserable things you can do is try to hide who you are. I don't ever want to have somebody have to be stuck feeling like they can't share. And so for the people that are making the case that yes, we should encourage one another to come out, is they will say, the more that you encourage somebody, the more that you are doing a service to them, the more that you are helping them to do what they really want to do all along.
There might be costs in coming out, but there's also benefits. And the benefits, I believe everyone I've talked to will agree that are they override the costs. In some cases, the costs are very little. In some cases, as in your case, the costs were very great. But ultimately, you never regretted that. And when I talk to other people who have had great costs, they haven't regretted making that decision because they have that freedom now to be their authentic self. You hear that expression a lot when you go to pride events.
Yes, absolutely. And so then when I come alongside somebody that is saying, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, then somebody that comes down on this side of this controversy would say, I owe it to that person to tell them my story, to tell them how much better it is once they come out. It's not just that they can choose on their own. Of course they can choose. But I owe it to them to take them by the hand and say, you don't need to be scared anymore. There is life and there's freedom on the other side. Moreover, when you do come out, there's a community waiting for you. Right now, you've never experienced that LGBTQ plus community, or if you have, you've only experienced it as an outsider. But as soon as you come out, then you can say, guess what? I'm part of the community. And we all understand what that's like. Those of us that have had to come out, we remember. And we come alongside and we come around you and we hug you and we support you and we are there with you. And there is nothing like that community.
Support is critical in so many areas. Yes, there is support from a lot of people out there that are cisgender. There are many, many people. As a matter of fact, I believe that surveys show that 70% of the people are supportive. That is a huge number. This is 70% of the straight people are supportive. And until you come out, you don't really realize that. It's kind of like when I was drinking. I have a problem with alcohol, which I've talked about before. When I quit drinking, I lost some of my friends. But I also discovered how many people out there don't drink, and how many people, or they drink socially only in a small amount. And it's considerably more than the people out there that do. And when I was out there abusing alcohol for all those years, I didn't realize that. Now, in my own defense, I came out in 1979. That's a long time ago. But I will tell you, I've never once regretted it, and I've never once felt that I lost much. I did. I lost a circle of friends that probably aren't alive now, but I gained so much more. And that's a wonderful thing. It's the same idea with smokers. If you're a smoker and you're hanging around smokers, you see each other standing outside on the sidewalk having a cigarette because they can't smoke in the building.
Now you see it more with vaping, where,
Yes,
everybody vapes. Not too many people smoke anymore, but, everybody's vaping. And when you're a vapor, it seems like everybody's a vapor.
Yeah, but they're not.
No. And then you get a group of people in the LGBTQ plus community that are especially strong and especially vocal, that will say, look, it is not just that you'll feel better, but you have a moral obligation to come out. And you think, how could that be a moral obligation? And they say, wait a minute, think about it like this. For as long as you stay in the closet, you are implicitly strengthening the argument of every single homophobic person or transphobic person who says it's not okay to be gay or it's not okay to be transgender. But when you come out, you are standing up to that and saying, no, I will not accept that argument, and I'm going to do what's right and let people know. And I have met people like this that will say, if you don't come out, you are part of the problem rather than part of the solution. That's a fairly aggressive way of thinking of this. But they would say, yes, but if we don't push one another to come out when we need to, how are things ever going to change?
So we've presented two sides of this issue. We've presented on both sides. And each side has its positive and negative points for that particular side. We're not coming up with a conclusion here, however. We're asking you to decide for yourself. Look at both sides, consider both sides, and you'll come up with a solution of your own. At some point, you will come to the conclusion that I will make the decision one way or another, and know that that decision is going to be long-term.
Yes. You know what else will be long-term? This podcast. We've been going, we're in our third year now. We're almost coming up to our fourth year in about a month and a half.
And I will add, we are very excited at the growth we have experienced. It's becoming exponential. And you can help by sharing this podcast. Every time I say this on one of the podcasts, I notice a little bump up.
We sure appreciate when you share with somebody else, but more than that, the person that you share with will really appreciate it.
And with that, we'll see you Monday. But But let's go to the topic at hand.
No. Let's
Okay.
talk about the scope now.